I'm going to tie a green rockworm, and there's a lot of good rockworm patterns out there, so I'm sure you'll recognize some of these techniques. I'm starting off with a size 10 scud hook in the vise, and I'm going to add some additional weight to this. So I'll take some turns of lead, maybe 8 to 10 turns, and I'll keep this situated kind of the back third of the hook shank. The thread that I'll use is a 6/0, and this is in a black. I'll start this in front of the lead, reach all the way back and gather, and then take some turns through, and then I can remove that tag. This pattern will have a rib to it. I'm going to use a small green ultra wire, and I'll take enough to get me all the way to the front of the pattern, so about 6 inches should do, and I'll tie this in from the back and down the bend, and I'll leave it then in front of the lead. So this next piece probably isn't correct from an entomology standpoint. It's a little bit darker than it probably should, but I think it adds some nice flash and movement. I'm going to add some peacock herl, and I'm going to add it to the bottom of this pattern. So what I'll do is take 4 strands, and I'm just cleaning off the ends so that they're nice and even. I'll tie this in front of the lead because I want it to help with that taper in front of the lead, so it's not a great big drop off when I tie everything down. And then I'll tie this in on top and all the way down as far as I did my rib. And again, I'll bring my thread back up to in front of the lead. The body for this is going to be a twisted Antron yarn. So I've got a medium olive Antron yarn. I'm going to take it off the stock, and I want to make sure that I take enough of the material again to get me to the front, and I'll double it over so that I've got the right size to it. I want this to have a somewhat thick body with good segments, and find that one strand is a little too slim and too narrow of segments. So I'll tie that in again in front of the lead to help with the transition, and I'll wrap it all the way down. And when I bring my thread up, again, I'll pay attention to those transition points to make sure that it's relatively smooth all the way. Now I can bring my yarn up through, and to do that I'll start with a wrap around, and then at this position I'll start my twist, and I'll twist relatively close to the hook shank to optimize my turns and get that definition. The more twist, the more segmented it will look, and also the more narrow that segment will be. So just keep that in mind. Usually it takes me till about here till I get my groove, and then I only need to put in a twist or so for it to keep its shape. And I'll wrap this up to the eye, take my turns on top and underneath, and then I can remove that. And I'm going to advance my thread back just a bit, and these have a little bit longer thread head to it, so I'm not worried if it looks a little bit bigger than what it would on a smaller pattern. I'll find my kind of natural pairs with these peacock herl, and so I've got 2 on either side, and I'll stretch this out to my thread, and I'll take only 2 soft turns to hold it in place. And the idea is the turn should be soft enough so that the peacock herl can slip past it, because I want some give to it so that it seats on the body. So now I'll take my rib and I'll wrap it in line with my segments, and you'll bind some of that material down, but some of it will come through and again give you that movement, a little bit of flash. Again, from an entomology standpoint, probably way too many segments to this pattern than what you'd find, but again, it's suggestive. And when I get to my thread, I'll tie it off on top and underneath, and now I can remove my wire with some wraps. And I'll tie down the peacock herl and trim it. If you want to, you can also add legs to the thorax. But for me, this seems to work just fine. Once I've gotten everything tied in, I'll whip finish. And then remove the thread. And I'll situate it in the vise, and then here I want to add some color to the top portion, so I'll take just a Sharpie, and this is in an orange, and I'll color in maybe the first 3 or 4 segments. And I'll finish the fly with some Loon's hardhead cement, and this is in a clear. And only on the segments that I colored in the head. And won't take long for that to dry, and it'll be good to go. And that is a green rockworm.